I'll put it, we'll see. Is that okay?
Give me 1 minute. Come and check that. Check on that to see if they're, Right.
You guys are doing great. I appreciate the silence. Thank you so much. I can't do it, obviously, so I appreciate it. All right, Jamie's getting the Zoom set up with a team effort. Susan's here as well. There's a lot of folks on Zoom. When we do roll, do we have to take roll for everybody? We can have a sign-in sheet, or we should just do roll for everybody? Just take a moment.
Do you want to pass around a piece of paper and help people? Is that easier for you, Alice?
probably, that would be great. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so do you mind if we lose the whole binder if they're taking a picture?
I've got a binder here, like one.
Could we seal it? Yeah,
Sure.
please.
You can use this
We
as
could
a
start with you if
service.
you don't mind.
And here's a
Just
pen.
in
There we go.
Logistics stuff.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're gonna open the meeting. 17:02. My name is Andrew Pomeroy. We'll just do the commissioners for now, and we're gonna do a sign-in sheet for the others.
Michael Nalika.
Susan Lawrence.
Allison Scott.
Jamie Gabb.
Appreciate that. And then we're gonna do a sign-in sheet. That way that Allison's minutes can reflect the fact that we've got a good meeting here, and we've got a good crowd here. For the interest of this meeting, I understand that there's a lot of folks interested in the most recent billings. We're gonna do an entire segment discussing the bills and how we came up with where the bills are currently and our plans moving forward. But I wanna get through the official stuff that we have to do for the August meeting first, and then we can get into an open discussion. That way it leaves as much of this hour that we can leave as we can. If we push it past, I think Dana will leave the lights on, but I don't want to upset him as much. Try and get us in and out of here in an hour, and I'm assuring us that if our questions aren't answered this evening, we can have another discussion in the nearest future and get our answers. I'm of the opinion we'll answer our questions tonight. With that, can we transition to the treasurer's report to end August? I want to make a note, because Jamie mentioned it just now, and I observed it. This is our smallest treasurer's report that I've seen since I started 3 years ago with the bills. Aquaman's bills are just their monthly payment, and then a check. They came out and gave us a $78.75 bill for a routine check that we asked them to do that's actually the meter read, that's what we just talked about. We had a potential leak, and we asked Aquaman to come out after hours to check on that, or out of schedule to check on that. So this is the smallest bill or treasurer's report that we're submitting as a board since I started 3 years ago. That's a trend in the correct direction, but go ahead, Jamie.
Just the usual TDS and Eversource, and then you said the 2 Aquaman bills. There's only one customer account that's over the 61 customers.
Can you speak up?
Can you talk a little louder?
And then the normal bank balances are on there. That's it, that's all I've got. The invoices are attached to that copy.
This is the copy that I read. So that's easy here. Do you mind if I read it just real quick so we're all on the same page, or is it?
You can't discuss
Yeah,
this right
yeah.
now.
We have our general, since I'm understanding that this is a big crowd, I don't mean to stress the timeline, but I want to make sure that since everybody's here, we're all hearing the general monthly bills that we get as a community, as a district, as a board. So we have the TDS telecom bills, $182 for the internet and film bill. We have 4 Eversource bills, $18.76 for the garage, $295 for Peninsula's Pump House, $140 for Franklin Pierce, and $117 for the clubhouse. Those are the gas bills that we pay for Eversource, or the electric bills that we pay for Eversource. Aquaman, we have a monthly fee of $2,650 for their monthly operating service cost. That's their 4 trips a month on typically Thursdays, but they alternate days. If we do have requests for them, they can change the date for us. That's $2,650 that they have for a monthly fee. And then they have a $78.75 charge for a check on Pennacook, a meter check, excuse me. And then we have Poolin's Property Maintenance, which is a PLBD community monthly fee of $1,083. These are rough bills. Next month, the projected month's payments are the same, except Eastern Propane is gonna add $300 for their quarterly invoice. Primex gonna have their liability insurance invoice for $5,416 for the district. Pooling Properties will have the same amount for $1,000, and then clubhouse reimbursements, but that's gonna come out of the clubhouse fund, so. So just to give folks on the idea, that's the general amount that we spend per month without leak detections, without an Aquaman extra Aquaman invoice, and without unknowns. So this is a good month. August was a good month. With that, I'd like to transition. Our board met last week.
Can you approve the treasurer's report
Oh,
first?
I appreciate that, Jim.
Sorry.
It's got the signature page.
We have the
Oh,
signature
sorry.
page. Sorry. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the August 2024 treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion's gonna pass. Sign it now. That's official. Thank you, Jamie. So I do get distracted. Last week we held a meeting. We've kept the minutes sealed simply because we do discuss a lot of individual bills and individual rates and potentially private information, and I'm not sure how much of that we're allowed to disclose. And it's a good idea to get on a level playing field with the five of us and three of us behind the board, to talk about where these bills are. We've discussed them, we've had an agreement, we've sent bills out, but we'd like Michael to take a moment to just discuss how your bills became your bills for those that are water customers here, and where we're tracking forward. I'm gonna take it up after you get back to where we're going. So, without further ado.
Sure. I'll stand so you can hear me. So during this portion of the meeting, it's my intention to elaborate on how the current water bills were calculated. And I'll ask that you hold any questions until the end. It's a page. The intent of this is to answer the bulk of the questions, if not all, that were submitted to us through the PLBD website Contact Us button, or through other communications from a committee and whatnot. So hopefully, by walking this through so you can understand how the bills were generated, a lot of those questions should go away. Once we're through with this, I'll be happy to answer your questions. If you're on Zoom and you have questions, please feel free to enter them in the chat. So first, just a very, very brief history of how we got to where we are at this point today. Last fall, during our monthly meetings, we had community members regularly coming and saying, you know, you're illegally billing me for a utility payment. Utilities can't be billed to people who are not taking current immediate benefit from the utility. That's a law. So it's really quite clear. So we cannot tax or charge for utility service that is being used. So when those members brought it to us, we took the time to check with legal counsel and really understand the law and how that works. And we also, and we were told in no uncertain terms that it was not a legal practice. We also learned in our investigation that 2 prior boards, before any of us were present, had gone through the same exercise looking into this due to citizen complaints. Those 2 prior boards walked the same path, got the same results from legal counsel, but for whatever reason, and we don't know why, they didn't act on it. So this has been something that's been coming to a head for quite some time. So based on this, during the March budget meeting, the annual meeting, we came with a warrant article to stop that practice. We explained the illegality, and it was voted on by the community, and that resolved it. That people who live in the village district but who are not on the water system would no longer be billed or taxed for the use of that system. Given the path that this has taken with legal advice and with the vote in March, we will not be going back on that decision. We simply need to find the best path forward. So I hope you understand that this is not something we dreamed up. This is something that's come to a head and is finally properly resolved. obviously some financial pain from it. That's why we're here tonight. All right, so you'll recall that we received new meter reading equipment last fall that was not properly set up. And we had no meter readings to do the Q1 and Q2 invoices this year in January and April. And so what we did is we used normal property usage. If you were a high user or a low user, we just went ahead and billed you at those monthly standard rates. No charges for overages or anything else. There was no way we could calculate that at that time. When we sent those bills, those 2 quarterly bills, we indicated that adjustments would have to be made once we could finally get meter reading back. So the last prior actual reading was taken on September 23rd of 23. We were finally able to take a new actual read of all the meters on July 8th of this year. So 8 months had gone by, 9. The total water used by the district from that September read to the July read was 770,000 gallons, using a round figure. The annual water system operating budget approved in March is $166,010. July is the 3rd quarterly billing cycle. So as a result, we need to have, through this 3rd billing, collected 75% of that 166,000 for the year. So that amount is roughly, pardon the rounding, is $124,500 roughly. All right, so what we've done to ensure that everyone is being treated equitably is that we used the meter reads from September and July to figure out where that 770,000 gallons had been consumed. And we came up with a number of gallons used for each house, and then we calculated what your percentage of the total 770,000 use was. So as an example, using those round numbers again, I really want to make sure you understand, I'm not trying to be super precise here, I realize we're recorded. The round numbers of 124,500 due and 770,000 gallons used. So if you were a home that used over that 9-month period 7,700 gallons, in my example, that would have been 1% of the use in the system. Okay? So that example home would then owe 1% of the 124,500 that is due at the end of the 3rd quarter. All right? It's as simple as that. So what we're doing is then, and from that, because we calculated it over the 3 quarterly cycles, we paid back the money you'd already paid in for the first 2 quarterly billings. So off of my example home of $1,245 net share, then there would have been a credit against that for the usage amount. All right? What this is called is proportionate billing. It's actually not a per gallon rate. It's simply people paying their percentage of their burden on the system. So using this method, the billing amounts varied very greatly. We have one year-round resident who's a minimal water user, and he drew over that period of time 5,700 gallons. And his bill for the water use for that period was $900 roughly. Another heavy user used 32,000 gallons, actually above that during the same period. Their bill was $5,100. So you can see that the use of the water from the system, the use on the system, is being billed to the people who are taking the benefit. And that's our point. On top of the usage charges, the 2 loan repayment current portions were divided equally among the 55 present water system users, which added roughly $255 to each invoice. So it was your usage, it was less the credits for the payments you've made, added in were the two loan payments of about $255, and that's how you came to your net bill. So we will not be, as some people suggested, reissuing any invoices to include the dates of the meter reads. They're here. Will not be changing to a format that was used in prior years. You got a bill, it's understandable. You may not have understood the calculation, but hopefully this will help. All right, so we've welcomed requests for payment plans, but all invoices are due 30 days from the date of the invoice, which is August 25th, unless provisions are made. A $25 late charge per month will be applied. Any bills not paid in full within 90 days, if you have not made any provisions. If you don't reach out, you just ignore it, the monthly charge is accumulating. At that point, after 90 days, because we will then be entering the next quarterly payment cycle, at that point, it'll be sent to an agency for collection. Now, you can avoid that, even if you can't easily pay it. You can avoid that simply by working with us. All right, the fourth quarter meter reads are expected to occur the first week of October, and the invoices will come out shortly after. That billing period will have the remaining quarter of the year's budget collected, and the amount of that is roughly $41,500. That'll too be divided by the gallons used in aggregate, excuse me, by the system from July read date to October read date, and you will be billed in the same proportionate way that we've used in this invoicing cycle. So your level of water use is important. It affects how much you're billed. We'll also add the loan portions onto the fourth quarter bill, and I'll tell you now, it's going to be a little bit more than $255 because it's divided by the number of people who are currently on the water system at the time of the invoicing. There are fewer people because people have jumped off the water system. So the portions of the loan payments will be more than $255. Can't tell you what that number is going to be. Depends on how many people are on then. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the meeting to questions about the bills and the billing process only. We're not going to have conversations at this point about how we got here. It's history. We can't change it. We're not going to talk about the things that we're doing as a board today to reduce water costs. That'll come back after we finish this piece. But if you have questions about how the bills were generated, this is the time to ask them. Be happy to answer them. I will say, please, that I hope we can all be respectful to each other. If anyone wants to be disrespectful or abusive in any way, you'll be asked to stop talking. If you don't stop talking, if that's occurring,
We get a chance
you'll
to
be
talk
asked.
now. We've heard you, okay?
No, you didn't.
I did.
Be respectful. So, if you won't be respectful, you'll be asked to leave. That's it.
Amen.
Debbie, your hand's up.
I'll stand now.
Please, Debbie.
May I clarification? State your name, please. My
Yeah.
name is Deborah Grothier. I live at 492 Deer Meadow Road, and as of last week, I'm finally off this system.
Thank you.
On October 30th of 2023, would you like to tell me where that reading went, since you're now changing your dates? You want to clarify? Are you making things up as you go, Michael?
I'm not.
Your own board handed me the last reading of October, and then you also gave me a reading in June. And neither one of those are you using for your billing?
We could not use the June reading, although we were trying,
And you
because
didn't
the
use the
equipment's
October
still.
30th for what?
I'm not gonna argue with you.
I
If
just
you'd
asked
like to
October
speak-
30th.
She's asking a question.
I asked
You're
them
not
at
part of it.
October
Which
30th.
part of the question?
I'm asking what happened October 30th reading.
I'm happy to answer it. Which part of the question? Excuse me. Go ahead.
Again, I'm asking, what happened to the October 30th, 2023 reading?
So if we were to take a reading from one home on October 30th, 2023,
everyone.
if we were to take a reading, were all of them on there?
You can ask Susan, she
So-
only gave me the portion from that day. I have the bucks for them. I
Was that the
have-
new meter reading equipment?
Excuse me?
Is that the new meter reading equipment?
Would you like to ask your own board that gave me this
So
this
the
information?
numbers we're using, I'm not sure how this is difficult. If the data is collected on the same date from every customer, it doesn't matter which date that is, that date becomes a benchmark.
That is
So
not
if
the
you
date
use a
you're
different
using.
date from your day than the date that we use from this, the date that I've got is September 23rd, 2023.
We'll be happy to verify the meter reading that was used for your start and finish
It
day.
is October 30th.
Oh, do I have the wrong date on this one?
Yep.
So,
The wrong date was
so
on-
what's the discussion then? So
I
if you had the
asked-
same date that she sent,
No, the date that you're billing me is from September 8th, not October
Okay.
30th. So you're going
that
back
so?
an
James
additional,
got 9/23.
7
I
weeks.
don't know what else was.
That's what I mean.
Do we have a 9/23?
I'm just
or
asking for
was it-
clarification. I don't think that's,
We're working
I'm
it.
happy to clarify.
We're working it.
We do not have a 9/23. It goes from September 8th to October 30th, and I was not responsible for those
Yeah.
readings.
Okay.
So that's our
no
benchmark
one's
date though.
saying that you're
It's a
responsible for any
benchmark.
of this.
Was, what was it, October 30th?
October 30th, 10:30.
But this is the date that we've used for all of the customers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I
September.
didn't
Eighth.
put a lot of focus on it. If it's the same date for every customer, if we pick one point in time, that point in time to whenever we pick the second point in time is a difference of X gallons. Right now, that point in time is October 20th.
30.
But
Sorry, it's
my
30th.
question is, if the vote didn't happen till March, how are you billing me back to September 8th?
Exactly it, to proportionally bill the system. How much each customer that is currently on the system has proportionately taken away from the system.
As of January 1st, and you can't tell me that, okay?
Well,
That's
so
fine.
the only way to do
I
that
want
would
my
be.
floor time to.
But how would it change?
Because
How would
you're
the
not answering.
conditions change from October 30th, when our date is, to January 30th?
I have
Or January
actually, I
1st.
can give you the full, my usage went down, which I can actually.
So you
prove.
did use less gallons from
But
October
you're
30th to
charging
now.
me back to September, which I did not, that's,
Because that is the date we're using as a benchmark.
That's the only benchmark
for
date,
everyone.
I guess. That's what I'm trying to, it's the only benchmark date. But if it's a benchmark start time, then all of the customers that are on the system are X distance from that start time, X gallons from that start time. We can proportionally bill from that time. If I can't create a second point that's in October or a later date than that's in November or a later date than that, January preferably, without the equipment, then I can't make another benchmark date.
you cannot
May I
say, this is a non-conversation.
May I please?
We can go on to something else unless something
Jamie
else.
just clarified
Because this is not,
that the 9/23 date.
you're going in
is the date-
circles.
We're talking now, though.
No, you're going in circles. You're
The
not giving
9/20
the straight answer. If you're,
The 9
you're charging me for water, for a percentage of water that I used last year, whether or not I had, and I've already paid for that water back then, you're billing.
If you'll stop
for-
a moment,
We didn't
Please?
send water bills last year.
okay. Ready? All right.
Yeah, let's go.
The reason is,
Anybody
for
wants-
everybody else that
Deborah,
You need to
right here,
speak up,
anybody wants
Michael.
to
People need
look
to
me
hear
up,
it.
and I will get a class action lawsuit.
I would argue that's not Michael, that's
After that.
disruptive.
if you'd allow, what Jamie said to me here, what we couldn't get out was that date of 9/23 was used because it was the last reading that everybody on the system's reading was able to be taken. It was actually taken by Lisa. It was the last time a reading was done with the old equipment that we could rely on. Beyond that, there were other partial attempts to take readings with the new equipment. It was dismal, so. Sir, would you tell us your name?
It's Zach Hopkins. So
Hi, Zach.
I have a follow-up question to the one you just asked.
Sure.
Did you account for everybody that has come off the system in that time frame as well? Because there were wells being dug, and we can't allocate all that water to just the people left on the system. That's not right, because there were people that were using water, and we'd be getting charged.
So two things were happening, okay? When somebody was leaving the system, they would receive a final bill. That was based on the former method of billing. We had no way else to know what that bill would have been at that time, okay? Because we didn't have the population bill. So you raise a good point. Is it totally fair? No. But I mean, there's no way to rebuild numbers that don't exist.
And they weren't
So-
part of the calculation of the
If I
gallons
can,
used.
if I can, though, if I can.
Oh, thank you.
They weren't,
Well,
those people
They
weren't
weren't
part
part
of
of the
this calculation for the
770,000.
total gallons used.
If I
Those
can,
people were not
if I
part of
can
that.
too. So the system, I do understand the point, it's a great point, that folks are coming off the system. It's drawing more on the folks that are still on the system. Our budget for this year is just written in stone. We have to collect X amount of dollars, $166,000. But if we do not spend $166,000, we have a surplus. The only people that see that surplus are the people that are still on the system. Because if there's extra budget going into next year, then we don't have to draw as much money into next year, and then going into the year after that and the year after that. Just like what we said in this is August, and it's unfortunately an unusual treasurer's report, but it is important to show it, that we don't have extra Aquaman bills on this treasurer's report. Right now, Aquaman's bills are $2,700 and $2,725 for Aquaman. They've ranged from literally 50 grand in a month's time. Like, they expand. Last year in 2023, from the beginning of 2023 to the end of 2023, this board spent an extra $60,000 on repairs, leak detection, anything we could do to sustain this system long-term, with the idea that that money would be paid back by the Concord Drive project, and it wasn't. So that money became part of our budget that we needed to expect in 2024. But fortunately, thank the God, fortunately, we have not had to spend that kind of money on Aquaman this year. So if you are a current water customer into next year, if that money gets down to 5, then only 5 people are seeing all of that surplus. If there's 5 would be an unreasonable number, but if there's 59 people still in the system, 59 people see a less budget moving into 2025. Because we won't have to ask for $166,000. We could realistically ask for potentially $120,000, and that's cut 40 grand off the top, which would remove your fourth quarter bill. Like, but we can't. If we were to only draw $120,000 for this fiscal year that we're in right now, and then we do have what we had happen last year, we needed to pay it, we wouldn't be able to do the work. Now we're in no man's land, and we're drawing on the emergency fund from the district. I don't know actually how that would happen. So,
Return to
yeah,
someone else,
forgive me.
Mary Lou?
But
Well,
if
I
that-
had
if-
a
yeah.
second part.
Quick,
So
go
ahead.
I'm sorry,
Yep.
because I wanted clarification on the last point. The second part is, and this isn't disrespect to anybody up on the board. I know you guys take your time, you're billing, you're doing the best you can. But, people are gonna be coming off the system. People's bills are gonna be raising based on what you've said. If you've done the math, I think quarterly it'll be about $1,000 potentially now. If it's 16 cents a gallon and we all have the same usage, it'll be probably about that. Nobody can afford that, so that's gonna push people to keep getting off the system.
Would you mind, no, just a sec. Would you mind, if we could address the billing questions and then get to the path forward afterwards, because there are a handful of things in motion, and we should talk about what we're trying to do creatively and positively.
Don't dodge the
as-
question, just answer it. Answer what he's asking. Don't dodge it.
Just
Answer it.
answer his question.
I'm interested.
I want-
He has a
I
good
want to
point, though.
know.
If we talk about the future and then we talk about somebody else's
Right, then we're
bill.
gonna come back to the
We're
billing.
gonna end up in a
I'll
circle,
ask it
but
when you
that-
get to the point.
Please hold it,
Please.
thank you, Zach.
Awesome.
Ma'am.
Yes, my name is Kathy Morrow, and I'm not on the system, my mother is, and I'm here on her behalf. And what I don't understand is, I don't know how many people started on the system, and then when things started going kaput, got off, so I don't know what those numbers are. But my concern is, as people get off, are they not gonna still be charged for these loans amounts that were taken when they were on the system?
It's illegal.
That is correct, they will not.
Why not?
It's illegal.
That, you're not billing them for product, you're billing them for a loan that was taken out. Electric companies, you do something, they don't say, sorry, you're not on a system anymore, you're not responsible for these bills that you acquired when you were on the system.
Actually, if you think about it, if you choose to get off Eversource and move to one of the small public suppliers
Yeah.
around New Hampshire, Eversource is paying on loans for their equipment and their lines and their everything else all the time. If you leave Eversource, you go start paying somebody else for your electric bill. You don't owe for the bills that were taken by Eversource while you were their customer.
Okay, but say I'm not on a sewer system, I live in Concord, I'm not on a sewer system. That sewer system decides to go by my house. I either have to hook on it, or I still have to pay for it, whether I have my own septic system or not. I don't see this as being any different.
I would also disagree with that statement. You still pay Eversource for maintenance on all the lines and everything that they need to do when power goes out. Yeah, I have direct.
They're maintaining, so. but
Yeah, I
yeah.
pay direct energy and I still pay a maintenance fee.
But
That
you're-
Eversource comes out and
You're
fixes the
physically
lines.
connected to the
Yeah.
power line
Yeah,
that Eversource
exactly.
maintains.
Yes.
So the difference is that you're actively receiving the service from the public distributor. That's, my understanding is that we cannot send bills to people that are not customers. The
But,
water,
I'm sorry.
the water system, the water system is paid for by water customers is like underlined 3 times in the email that was sent to me. So that's my understanding. I do see, and I don't mean to open this door to put a 2x4 in it, but I do see an avenue that it would benefit if I were to say a situation that if I'm not on the water system, it would still benefit me that PLVD does not have a loan in their name, whether it's tied to the water system or not. PLVD, Pillsbury Lake Village District community in general, would be able to get bigger loans if they didn't have any debt associated with anything. So it could benefit a non-water customer to have a water bill or a water loan paid down. That's an avenue. I just don't mean to put a 2x4 in and try and pry the door open, because the avenue that you'll get to is that people that are not getting a service would now need to be required to pay for a public service.
Correct,
non-debit.
because they were on it when this came about.
But then you'd have to have minimal requirements for new construction, some type of setback, some type of, like, like Pillsbury Lake Village District, the water portion of that would have to have some type of minimum requirement for every, like, it would.
But they do, electric companies do. I mean, if you put an extension, you do all that, they have requirements for that stuff.
No, I hear, that's why I appreciate this, I do hear you, I don't mean to distract everybody, I do hear
know, we're
you,
going
I
down
just,
a deep hole.
I do hear, I hear the conversation, that's where we're at currently right now, is that we're not, as a board, allowed to build non-water
It's
customers
obvious.
for water system-related activities.
Okay. And you say, get, once more people go off, more people are gonna have to pay this amount that's already borrowed.
Now, careful though, we're getting outside of Bill questions, because this is similar to his question, we want to get to the future, we do want
I'm
to
just
get to the
saying,
future.
what about people that don't have the option to put a well in? They
That's
have to.
90% of the future, absolutely, that's a great question, for the we want to get through the Bill, I appreciate that, yes.
Mary?
I'm Mary Peppin, I live on New Hampshire Drive. A lot of homes have been bought and sold recently in the past year. Do you have a list of how many homes have been sold and who they are? That are water users?
We,
Yes.
I'm not sure the root of the question, Mary, but yes, we actually get a deed
Okay.
transfer
Are you
report
going
on a
to call
monthly
back
basis.
and get them to pay because they may have moved right before they got this bill and alleviate some of the stress on the rest of us?
What happens if somebody moves if they have an extended bill? How does it work?
Before someone can sell their property, the title company reaches out to us and we issue a final bill.
Right, like anybody.
And then it transfers
closing
to
on a
the new
house.
owner, and
But
that
if they
new owner.
closed on that house 3 weeks before these bills even hit the mail,
Then
we're all
they got a
clawed
final
back.
bill for
Oh,
what was in
they'll
there
get
at
it.
the time.
clawed back.
Yeah, oh yeah, we'll find them, absolutely. Whether it's them or the
Well,
homeowner
I wanna know
now.
the extent that you will go to get
It's
them to pay
actually,
the
if I
bill
may,
on a
Mary, it's
house that
actually
they don't hit
easier
any
to collect because it's withheld from the transactions by the title.
Yeah, we'll get
But
that.
did you have in motion this plan that came in the mail to us when people sold their house maybe 2 months ago?
They would get a final reading, or they'll get whatever the difference, so
When will
then,
they get that?
Someone already has.
They
Yeah,
already, they
it's-
already did with the
when
title
you
company.
do,
When they closed on their house or
They-
when
they-
they got
no,
this
I
bill?
thought
When we
somebody-
got this bill?
I thought someone got it when they closed.
You get a
and-
final
and
reading, you get a
whatever-
bill,
Whatever
yeah.
it is, right, you can't close until that's paid in
Right,
escrow.
I understand.
But I,
that.
I,
But that was a
understand
different
someone,
rate.
from what I
You understand what
understand,
I'm
someone
saying?
has received the bill.
That was a different rate than what came out a month
No,
later.
no.
Andrew,
it wouldn't have been this rate, but it would have been a bill that had potentially the excess charge and then not the
Correct,
excess
we had a
charge.
final reading.
The previous thing.
If it started, goes back to 23, first quarter, you know?
Yeah, no, so to answer your question, yes, they would have gotten a bill, similar to somebody that would have come off the
After
system.
they moved away. after they close.
No, okay, so, no,
Not
if
for
somebody,
16 cents a
If
gallon.
they closed on
If
house
somebody
in
is
early
closed-
June, you guys would have charged them $335, which you were at the
You
time.
brought, how do you get 16 cents a
You
gallon
can't,
in
you can't back charge
October?
them 16 cents.
What were we paying in September?
but again, Ernie, that's
I
why
wanna know if
we've
there
tried
was a plan to
very
fall back
hard
to these
to
people
explain the
and try to
proportionate
collect that money.
use. So, yes, if somebody sold their house in March, they paid the Q1 bill at the then rate of
Right.
11 cents.
Right.
They are not paying anything
But-
in addition on this revised billing method for proportionate use.
But your example though, so there's currently a homeowner at that address, currently using water, currently getting a bill at the current rate.
Maybe.
After the sale, after the transaction,
That's
yes.
the other question. So
So
now we have
yes.
a new homeowner.
So the difference in time would be the new homeowner, I would-
When the other people live there?
That is the answer, that's, the person that left would be billed at the rate that the rate was when they left. There's no way to go back in time. To answer that, they would be
That's
billed at the
correct.
rate it was.
No
And then to
clawback.
go from that point of sale to now would be the new rate at the
We all
next
got
meter
sent back in
reading.
time until September.
But does that not make sense?
No, it doesn't.
It's some very unfair.
How would you get the new rate?
Andrew,
How?
let me
Would
ask
you
you,
get the new rate? I guess?
does the board recognize that people are mad as hell about the bills?
Not
Hey, can we ask if she
Can
can
we ask if she
remove?
can leave?
Hey, you guys said we have to leave if we're being disrespectful.
This one's laughing at everything that's said over
I
here.
hear you, please,
Okay.
please, all of us.
She should
I
be
hear
made to
you.
leave.
I hear you. I hear you. There's been multiple people talking to me at the same time. They've been on the same side of the discussion. There's been one person on the opposite side, and it's the only person you all have called out saying they're chattering. That's all my impression of this conversation right now. Please, John.
All right. I don't
Name,
know where
please.
to, I don't know where
John,
to
thank you.
begin, because this is the first time.
Is this a billing
I
question?
heard, I know what you want to do, I got you, you want us to stick on the billing. This is the first time I heard the word proportional billing. I don't know what the hell that is. When you left the last meeting, okay, and made a decision, you were gonna go to per gallon pricing, okay, you left the impression that you were the meter was finally working, who knows, you were gonna read the meters of the homes, and there would be a beginning date and an end date, and you'd get the gallons times 16 cents. Now we're hearing some, and I don't wanna go through it, bizarre, whatever the hell that is. And you decided to claw back, to go back to Q4, homes have been sold. Where are you gonna get the money from the people that have left? Okay, but most important, Michael used the word, you got legal advice. And that's where the origin of this problem is. The legal advice that Michael's talking about is the New Hampshire Municipal Association, not PLVD's lawyers.
Okay, could I please stop you? You know why? You know why? Because we do this every monthly meeting as well.
But these
And-
people
and-
haven't
These
heard
people haven't heard it.
and they wanna hear it.
And they come here,
They-
Michael, and they're pissed off about the bills. And you just told
I
them,
don't
you're not
need to
gonna
be
go back.
shouted at,
We're
John.
telling you, we're gonna put the, okay, I'm sorry. We're telling you, we're not accepting what you said about not going back. The advocacy group sent you an agenda. We gave you a path to go back, okay? You're saying you're not gonna do it. You need to reconsider. You've created a legal Pandora's box quagmire that is unbelievable, okay? Why you're doing it, I don't know.
Hear you.
Stop interrupting him, let him speak, I want to.
I'm ready for the
But if
question.
you're rude and
When
disrespectful
you're ready,
by
John.
interrupting people,
When you're
shouldn't
ready,
you
John.
leave?
All right,
Exactly.
Here's what I'm
Second
saying.
that.
I'm ready for the question.
All right. We gave you the suggestion that you cannot claw back. Q4 and Q1, those bills went out, they're paid. Life moves on. You deal with Q2, which is the current quarter. You have the authority to raise and go to per gallon. You have the authority to 16 cents or whatever your mind comes up with. You need to start dealing with it from that point. Whatever the budget is that you have to deal with, you have to deal with it. You've already said, and people know, that the $166,000 budget is over, okay? And it's over because based on using faulty legal, you went and drafted articles, people voted based on what you told them, that you got legal counsel, okay, meaning Upton and Hatfield, okay, and you didn't.
I'm ready for the question, John.
The question is, okay, you need to go, are you gonna go back and get rid of the clawback on the water bills? And go back and get rid of suspend the articles that you passed with faulty legal? That's what I'm asking.
My initial impression is I find it very difficult to go back in time. That's my initial
I
impression.
agree with you.
Yeah.
Let me say this,
So-
I'm not a
so-
lawyer, but I agree it's gonna be difficult, the mess that you
Do I
create.
think that we can? No. That's my answer. I'm happy to, Susan, you're welcome.
But
You're welcome.
what's the answer? Why did you use the association, okay, because they're
This is a
an
different question. Now I'm
association,
ready
they
for
don't have the
question
authority. And when we told you that the opinion he gave you, he said there was no benefit, and therefore it's unfair. He didn't say it was illegal, he told you it was unfair.
And you said
Okay.
it was illegal in your,
And you said illegal.
no, not in his letter.
His letter says unfair.
His letter does not say illegal.
He called it illegal and
I-
said.
All right, but I want to give you
I'm
the,
ready.
I want to give you the
for the
golden
second
nugget
question.
where the benefit is.
Please.
And you're not gonna like this. The benefit has been there since 1967,
Yep.
when the PLV was founded. And that benefit to the residents is the ability to get on the community water system if they so choose. And it's up to them if they choose to go on.
And if they choose, they'll begin paying for it.
The district was set up with a partial tax support. That's the way it was. You've decided
When was
to
that
change
set
it.
up with a partial tax support?
It's in people's
In the
deeds.
beginning, like the beginning of time?
And tonight we found out, I didn't know this, but there were a couple of people who came.
More than a couple.
More than a couple, who have it in their deeds. So when I say you created Pandora's box of quagmire for all of us, it's up to you now to go figure it out. You made a mistake. You listened to one lawyer whose opinion is flawed, and you shouldn't have done it.
3 times.
I appreciate your
That
question.
legal opinion was
I
given.
think you're welcome
And
to
so-
volunteer your time.
I'm sorry, I do want to, Michael's taken the brunt of it, and I apologize for it, because I have limited patience as well, and I apologize for it. I have sat down myself with Stephen Buckley at NHMA several times, and every time, it's like the ghost of Christmas past, he's wondering why we're still having the same conversation. I can't, he's confused, but we're still having the same conversation.
Well, have him come
The
here,
writing-
and then
the
we have
word-
one final
The
conversation.
wording is, the water system is paid for by the water customers. That's the wording, and that's what's thrown. It's not just as excitedly as you are throwing your very, very good ideas, just excitedly. He's explaining to me that's ludicrous. And I'm apologizing, John, but I'm going to just lean and say that the guy from NHMA that's calling me a lunatic is probably right, and I'm gonna lean on that side of it.
Okay.
Of the two, I'm just gonna say that.
Will the
And
association-
so with that, moving forward, we're trying to answer in this first part of this.
Yeah.
Right now, we're talking about the future, John, and we're trying, we just cut him off. He had a great question, a very good question I wanted to answer, and it's because he was interrupting the bill talk, John.
But this
You
is
did
about
not
the
have
This is
a
about
bill
the bills.
conversation.
I'm talking about the
I'm trying to
bills.
get through an individual conversation about people's bills, and then we can talk about the future and what ifs and what cans and what have yous, and then maybe we'll be out of here before tomorrow. If that's possible, please, is there another, I'm happy to continue this conversation, if this is the conversation we'd like to have, I'm happy. I'd like to give the folks, there were 16, Mary Lou, 16 emails of people asking an opportunity
That's
to
it?
speak at this time. I'd like to give it the opportunity. We've gotten to 3, and we're still here, but we haven't gotten to a billing question from John. I don't mean to push
Well,
John
it
off the
is a
stage.
billing,
I
I'm
gave
trying
you
to
the
get to an
foundation.
individual billing question.
I've told you, I told you a billing question. You don't claw back, okay? You start with Q2 right now. And if you want to use 16 cents, you have the authority to do that, but you don't claw back.
Okay, that's not a question.
Thank
Do you understand my answer?
Lisa, please. Thank you, John.
Thanks. So my question is, it is a billing question. The 770,000 gallons, I believe you said, of water was used. Where did that figure come from?
Summation of all the current water customers on the system.
So so the meter readings from that September period to when the bills were due?
I apologize for saying September. It's October 30th is the
October, yeah,
beginning
whatever
to
you used.
when the last one.
That's fine. I'm not
Seven,
here to worry
yeah.
about what you used. I understand that one because I'm the one that did it.
Right.
I was just wondering where the 770 came from, whether it was from meter reads or from the
The start and
water.
finish for each house, add them all up.
Current users.
Right.
Current users at them all.
So that's what was, 770,000 was used from the houses, not from the water and.
Yeah,
the-
not distribution. Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, not
Okay.
up at the pump houses.
Right, okay, I was
That's
just
at
curious
the
where that
meters.
figure came from.
Because otherwise, honestly, there might be a difference.
Right.
And you weren't charged for a drop of water that didn't go through your faucet. That's an important distinction.
Right,
Yeah.
I just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure that was correct. And then I just wanted to clarify, so the bills that went out when the meter reader wasn't working, did you say you did put on there that the reader wasn't working and that there would be fixes to it and their
Notice went
bills
out.
would be,
A notice went out,
a notice went out to all the users?
saying the meter reading equipment has been, non-functional
Not-
since
yeah.
last fall, and that we were gonna use a 3/4 base, and it would be made up for once the equipment was fixed.
So the notice told people that they would be basically backfilled?
It did.
Okay, thank you.
That was a good billing question, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Any
Did
other
the
questions on
association say you could
billing?
claw back, Andrew?
I don't even know. if
Did you ask them?
Go back from when the vote was,
Yeah.
to
Well,
I
that's
was-
history.
in the
We're not-
billing.
But-
Everything's history and we'd want to know the answer.
No, but if there's no others, I'm happy to have this question. This gentleman's been
There
waiting
is,
for a
the
moment.
behind
This,
Mary
this
Lou.
nice lady back here,
I'm
if
sorry,
there's
I'm
any
sorry.
question as well.
I'm sorry.
My name's Debbie Dufour.
Debbie what? I'm sorry.
Debbie Dufour. My question's kind of like what she just was discussing. I have all of our water bills from, we've been there 33 years. We have all of our water bills.
Yes.
And we've never used more than, in the 3-month period, the quarterlies, we've never used more than 6,000 gallons in 3/4. All of a sudden, we're getting a bill that's way more than that. I'm not sure, I understand that the readers weren't working, but are you just kind of guessing?
No.
No.
I mean,
but
I'm not,
for a
I'm
situation-
not being rude.
No, not
I'm
at
just-
all, not at all, appreciate that. For a situation like this, I would say that this is the type of conversation that deserves a private meeting, so that we can look at what you're showing, guessing, saying, look at our numbers, make a comparison, make sure everything is accurately represented for you.
Because the only thing I would say is, just from the things I've seen on, and I'm not a Facebook person, but the things that I've seen, it's kind of how everybody's feeling. They got these huge bills. Is wondering if it was a real thing, or if you're going, well, we've got to pay this bill, and how are we going to do
No,
it?
nothing like
Because
that.
it's coming from taxes, it's not coming from taxes anymore. Taxation from everybody in the district used to support part of the water system. Some
Right.
years, water collections from your invoices only supported it by 40%. The other 60% came from you, but also came from well owners.
Right.
And that's what we were told numerous times
inherent,
was illegal. And this board took it into consideration this year and said, you know,
It's the
we're
same,
gonna change it.
it's actually a smaller pie. If the pie is the budget that needs to be raised to run the water system, is a smaller pie from 2023 to 2024. There are significantly less pieces. There are less people being divided out. The 70-30 split, I think it's number 3 or number 4, the article number 4, used to have article number 2, used to have the water system at this old rate. Whether that old rate equaled the expenditures or not, it was the rate that was determined. And more often than not, always, it didn't equal the expenditure. The balance, what was currently considered still due, was collected by all of taxation, which is everybody, the whole pie, significantly more pieces. That's the difficult hurdle. I appreciate the question, because that is the hurdle that we're jumping over, is that the system doesn't cost 3 times more than it did last year. There are a third more people paying for the 3 times more system. That's why your bill increased 3 times. And that is the difficulty of straddling this, is that
So
previous.
that's why we're getting like $4,000 bills.
For currently, this $4,000 bill does make up for the entire year. Typically, a quarter bill wouldn't be whatever the bill you just got was, but it's because the same system's now only being paid for by water system customers.
And it's but the difference is too, it's making up for the previous 2
Well,
quarters.
this specific
So
bill,
your next
but-
quarterly bill will not be $4,000 if it was
I won't be
$4,000
getting
this
one.
time. Right, I know that, but anybody that's still on, it's not gonna be the same. This bill was making up for the previous 2 quarters.
Which kind
where
of
we
doesn't seem
couldn't.
right to the people that aren't on, that don't have,
Right.
that aren't on the system anymore either. It
You know,
doesn't seem
the
right
one
to them
thing I
either.
would say is for the people that did leave and wound up getting the 300-ish bills for the first 2 quarters and are now gone and not getting the backup of this, the only thing to keep in mind is that the rate went from 11 to 16 cents. So yes, for those people, they escaped with 5 cents a gallon.
What was the answer to this
So-
lady's question? You're gonna look at her bill, is that what?
So
We're gonna
I'm
talk
gonna-
about,
I'm
we
gonna-
should talk about if it's a leak or if it's an average, or did we answer your question as far as the
We should find
great
out.
jump in cost?
So I think that what you were just saying to me was, it's a personal situation, I need to meet with one of you guys or all of you guys to discuss my bill?
Well, if there's an actual problem that you can demonstrate with the
Yeah, yeah,
numbers,
if you-
then we should look at the numbers to ensure nothing went wrong along the way. But believe me, putting this together was an excruciating exercise for all of us. We did multiple rounds of such care to try to make sure it was as fair as possible and that everybody's bills were as accurate as possible. And you can't imagine the variety of circumstances.
So the
that
only
we
other
needed
thing I wanna say is,
be careful of.
if there's a lot of us that live in Pillsbury Lake, and there's 5 of you. If there's help needed, all you have to do is ask.
You know what, that's a beautiful observation. Can I also share, I'd like to remind you guys that we're not the board, we're not somebody, we are part of you guys. We're your elected representatives supposing to do what you guys asked us to
I
do.
mean, I don't necessarily agree with everything you're doing up there, but,
You're the board, you're responsible for your actions.
right.
You're responsible.
I do appreciate the offer. Yes, please.
My name is Brandon Westgate. I got a question, and it's about the billing. So,
Please.
the more people that come off the water system, the higher all our bill is gonna continue to go. With that being said, what happens tomorrow if all of us say, to hell with this water system, and we all get wells? Where does that bill go then?
Can we put that in the future category? But you know what?
But typically
All
speaking,
the
if we
questions
did,
seem to
where
be
does
trending
where
into
does
that
go?
conversation about the future and what else can we do and how do we try to minimize the pain going forward. Are there any more questions in the audience specifically about the billing method?
Ma'am?
That corner.
Hi, my name is Heidi Babb. I just moved here, so it's nice to see neighbors. I just have actually a question about the bill. This is my first bill. It was a little shocking. This is a little shocking, but I would love to see dates for the meter readings. That's all I wanted to say.
I appreciate, yeah.
We can take that under advisement for the next round.
I send the file to Jamie, and she puts it through
But
the computer program, what is it,
QuickBooks, I think what you're saying is on
You want-
on
On the bill.
on future invoices, you wanna see a date of the meter readings.
Yes,
that we
please.
take.
Yes.
I will tell you very excitedly, because this is your first meeting, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate your
Well-
interest in our community, but I will tell you excitingly, you will get a next quarter bill that will have accurate readings on it, because we have new meter reading equipment that was an absolute jungle to get installed and perfected. But now we have a meter reading wizard that's able to do it, so you will get more current readings, but
A wizard.
no.
more current readings moving through, but.
No, the readings that you have been working on since I said yes in
In
March. And I had Mike Burden from the company who sold us the equipment on the phone with me for 3 hours going through the system, because he came into the computer and he did his thing. And that was not enough for me, and he came to me personally from Maine, at my house for another 3-hour meeting, and we went through it. And he did a reading, and it was, and then I did one after him, just to make sure that my reading was going to mirror his, so that everything was going. So yeah, we've been working on it. Your readings are accurate, and I have to say that keeps changing every day, because somebody gets a well. So I mean, you know, I have to keep changing my end of it, but we have the dates, and I can't, she left, wanted all the paperwork. I can't send you a copy of, a PDF of everybody's reading, because I don't think that's fair. My information's private, and so is yours. But I can send you yours if you want it, yours personally, but everybody else is gonna be blocked out. And I couldn't send it through, Gmail. I had to send it through my own email. But I mean, if that's an issue, if Jamie can't get it to work, I'll get it to work for you. And I'm sorry I took your time.
Oh, thank
That's
you
good
so much.
info.
You had your hand up again, I'm sorry, just for circling back.
They just ignore me.
Look,
Right.
Mary Lou, are you ready? For both?
Yeah.
Please, Billy, go ahead,
Okay,
Mary Lou.
you just
Thank
said, you just finished saying that you do what we asked you to do, and I'm just going back to why, can you explain why, when we knew that there was gonna have catastrophic event like this happen, why you didn't go to our attorney?
So that's not a billing question.
It is a billing
Well,
question, it
so
has
Billy,
to do
all right.
with
We're
bills.
at the end of the billing question.
It's
It
not
has
a
to
billing
do-
question for you, Michael, but the community
It has to
is
do
a
with,
billing
that
question.
is why,
We're not getting
Wait,
off it.
okay, shush.
Hang on, Michael.
Shush.
And Michael, excuse me,
no,
John.
I'll explain why I'm
Only one at a
asking
time.
that. I'm explaining why I'm asking that, because that's the crux of what we're here from the NHMA's attorney's email. And I want to be clear, you keep saying he said it's illegal, it's illegal. He never in his email ever said it was illegal. So I want to make sure that, wait a minute, please, I'm not done. So I want to know the effect of having taxes taken away from subsidizing a system that we are a water district. We are a water district. It's filed with the state of New Hampshire as a water district. I have it right here, Jamie, from Upton and Hatfield.
No,
You're shaking your head.
I'm ready for the
We are
question,
a water
please,
district.
please.
Okay, why would you not take, and many of us asked you,
Additional
please go
advice.
to,
Yes, I agree. I'll answer it. Why do we
Okay,
not
thank
take additional advice?
no,
The
our
question is, why do we
attorneys.
not take additional advice?
No,
from
not additional, our attorneys' advice.
Our PLVDs.
That's what I mean,
We have a certified attorney locked into they work for us.
correct.
They're on the books every year, every month.
No, but they're the
No.
ones who has been used in the
A
past.
private attorney.
Our private attorney.
Our private, okay.
Yeah,
I don't mean to criticize Mary,
No,
I
no.
want to talk about the same thing.
Our private
We do not
attorney.
have a private attorney.
Is he
We
on
do
the
not.
team?
We have the public and we can call somebody, and then they become our private attorney. We do not have a private
Well, we
attorney.
have
We have an organization that we subscribe to, and we pay fees to be a subscription to.
Yeah,
I'm
and if you're
explaining this to
sued,
you.
that organization's not gonna help you at all.
Absolutely not.
They're just advice.
I agree.
And you would go to the
And we'd
attorney
have to get an attorney. Now,
that set up
in
PLVD.
order to get advice from an attorney, you pay them money.
Right. Yeah, right, we
Yes.
know that.
Yes, so where would that money come from?
We have $5,000 in the.
Who has $5,000?
This was back in, before March. We had
In the water budget for legal fees, yes,
for legal fees.
I appreciate that.
Before March and after March,
yes.
okay? And we had
So
legal
what
fees.
would be my argument to them?
Your argument would be,
Wait, I'm asking, what would I ask that attorney? We had in the past, Michael explained at the beginning, I don't mean to circle back, for about 16 months of me on this board, individuals showed up to every meeting asking why they weren't
One
on the
or
water
two.
system.
And-
One or-
Individuals.
one or two
Is that correct?
individuals.
Is it an individual or individuals? Is that an answer?
Correct.
Thank you for
No,
interrupting.
you're correct.
I'm accurate, thank you.
Yes.
John, this is where you get into the skin. Individuals came to our
and you
meeting for
had
16 months.
individuals asking you to go to
And
your
then I
private
asked,
attorney.
I said, you know what, that's a good point. We've been running this way, I'll ask. The answer was, no, you absolutely can't do that.
Mhm.
I don't know why you keep doing that. That's an important part. I don't know why you keep doing that. Because previous boards may or may not have tried to start this process, and they weren't able to go through it because of significant pushback. And I absolutely understand the pushback. No, I don't want my bill to go up. But I don't understand how you can bill somebody that's not using this current system. But I understand that answer from the lawyer. That's as far as that conversation can go. I tried to do it. We did it twice now, Mary Lou, from the beginning.
You satisfied their questions and what they wanted. There were plenty of us at
By
the meetings.
satisfying their being the people that came to the meeting, by satisfying that question, I spent $0. I spent a lot of my own time.
But you spent more
I
than
spent a lot
that.
of my
You're
own
spending
time.
our money now because you didn't, I'm just asking, you still didn't give me an answer why you didn't go to our private attorney that set up PLVD.
Because it costs money, that's exactly the answer.
So your answer
Private
is
attorneys
because it
cost
costs
money.
money.
Yes,
But
please.
we wanted you to do it, because we have $5,000, we had it in the kitty to spend for legal fees. And you wouldn't.
I do hear the question, I do.
And you didn't do it. This is an opinion by this attorney. This is an opinion from one attorney. You get another attorney, you're gonna get a different opinion. Nowhere
That's the
in,
dangerous part, though, Mary Lou. Then you end up with a system that's balanced.
then you
Can I
end
just
up
ask
with
a-
an equitable
Hey, Instead of yelling, can we just ask the question?
Please.
Do we have a legal document saying that it's illegal?
Yes.
I have the RSA, so, may I please?
I'm
I
sorry,
appreciate
I
that.
just-
Yeah, that's a great answer. This is an RSA, right? This is R-
Both of
which
those
RSA
address
is
that
it?
question,
Which
right
RSA?
there, that's the RSA.
Did you post that up on the website?
The RSA's, yes.
The state?
Have been on the website.
RSA, sorry. Thank you. RSA 3827, assessment for water supply. The governing body or board of water
can you
commissioners.
be a little louder? I'm sorry, I can't hear it.
Section 3827, assessment for water supply. The governing body or board of water commissioners, if any, may assess upon the persons who are served by the water systems or whose lands receive special benefit from the water system their just share of the expense of construction, acquiring, and operating of the system, or paying any capital debt or interest incurred. Water rates. For defraying the cost of acquisition, construction, payment of the interest of any debt incurred, management, maintenance, operation, and repair of water systems, or construction, enlargement, or improvement of such systems, the governing body or the Board of Water Commissioners, if any, may establish a scale of rates to be called the water rates, may prescribe the manner in which and the time at which such rates are to be paid, and may charge such scale from time to time as may be deemed advisable. The amount of such rates may be based upon the consumption of water on the premises connected to the water system, or the number of persons served on the premises, or upon some other equitable basis. And then, is this the one that has the water system? I can continue. We could just read them together. Both times, in both of those RSAs, 3827 and 3828, the water rates and the assessment for water rates describe the water system being paid for by water customers. Excuse me. Is it users or customers in this one? I just read it to you.
Don't add. It's lost.
I am, thank you, John. That's like, it says who people. You prescribe them in such ways to sometimes newsletter. I just read it, that they're currently connected to the system. Forgive me. The amount of such rays, the amount of such rays may be based upon the consumption of water on the premises connected to the water system, or the number of persons served on the premises, or upon some other equitable basis. Excuse me, I'll repeat it again, thank you for letting me find it. The amount of such rates may be based upon the consumption of water on the premises connected to the water system, or the number of persons served on the premises, or upon some other equitable basis. I apologize. That looks clear to me. That's not the specific line that we were given on the last email, but it's out of the section 3827. In summary, water systems paid for by the water customers is my understanding of the system. Is this system potentially equitable? Yes.
So
Do I
you're
think the
basing
system
it on
should turn
that?
off?
Is that
No.
correct?
What's that, John?
You're basing it on that, this fella asked, and that's what you're reading?
You're right. My entire
So-
education of this system has been the last 3 minutes.
I've read
of me
that 10
talking to you.
times. I've read that 10 times.
Yes, John.
And that's what we're saying.
Thank you.
It's a faulty opinion.
No,
You're
no,
wrong.
that's a state law.
That's an opinion, you're right. It's a faulty opinion.
No,
They're
no,
talk-
no.
Word and then it says
Wait a
maybe.
minute.
There's an end that says equitable.
To
appreciate that.
answer his question, there's nowhere that it says illegal, nowhere, there's nothing that says it's illegal. And it says it may establish, and it gives you other equitable solutions. And then you've got to look at the history here of it always being subsidized by taxes, because it's a water district, it was always subsidized by taxes. That has to be, should have been taken into consideration.
Thank you for sharing your opinion. I think we're ready to move on to other people's opportunities to speak. Ma'am.
Move on.
Hi, my name is Kim, and
Move
I
on.
came to this meeting for, well, my sister Kathy came for the water. And I'm just wondering, I came for another reason, but are we going to, and I know the water is very, very important, so please don't get me wrong, but are we gonna talk about anything else besides the water? Because her question has been answered. Right? Yeah, pretty much.
Do you have a
Yes.
non-water
My
question? I
mother-
apologize, we moved from the treasurer's report, I'm sorry, we wanted to have like this kind of general back and forth, but
You want about the raft?
about the,
So
oh, the.
I wanna know about the access, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Access.
Yeah.
Okay, to the water, because they've taken away 2 access, the
Spots,
beach,
yeah.
2 beaches that we used to go to. I used to go to all the time. So, especially the one at the clubhouse, and the other one before there.
May I answer your question? So we have a separate committee, I don't know if you're aware, we call it Love Our Lake Committee.
Lake.
And-
Love Our
Lake.
Oh, Love Our Lake, okay.
And it has 2 major functions. One is to preserve the water quality, which has involved de-weeding for the most part recently. And the other part is to create access for people who are or are not on the water, but are village residents.
Right.
So we meet on a periodic basis. We had a meeting several weeks ago. I'll provide the summary of our meeting at this point. Is that okay?
If you'd like, please,
All right.
Michael.
So we met and we did have a discussion. We have several projects which have been taken up by committee members. One of them has to do with beaches. One of them has to do with reinserting a raft into the water. And the third is that an individual in the community did provide a roll-in style dock that we want to position on the lake so that kayakers or others who might want to fish or whatever might be able to use that dock to their benefit. To do these things, each one needs various forms of permitting. And so what these members of the committee are doing is approaching the questions as to what do we need to do to get these things approved so that we can put them into the water as soon as possible. So we're trying to move on it. Please watch the PLBD website. We'll always have it posted when the next Love Our Lake meeting is. We'd love to have you there.
I had talked to Andrew a little bit at the outing that I went to.
Family Day,
The
which was
family
a fun
day.
time, please make sure you mention
Yes, it
that.
was, and thank you, whoever had it, I think, recognize you, I think, yes, so, I lived out here for like almost 40-something years, so that's how I know about the beaches and whatnot.
What was your name?
Kim.
Kim?
Joke one.
We'll get you on the list of the well.
And I had missed the last meeting Andrew was talking about, but I am more than willing to help out in any way I can
We'd love to have you.
to get an area back to go swimming, because I use the lake all the time. Well, I used to, but.
I would like to suggest, thank you, Kim, very much. I'd like to suggest that we take this opportunity to segue the conversation.
My question wasn't
onto-
answered.
But it was.
No, it was not answered. I asked why you didn't look at the equitable basis, some other equitable basis
We
based
looked
on
at
the history.
sentence that
What?
It's
Please
from
answer
water-
that.
It's still from water customers. The fact is, it's
You need to
current
speak up.
beneficial use.
Michael, speak up a little bit.
Current-
People can't hear you.
Who said it's current beneficial use? The RSA doesn't say anything about
hang on, Mary Lou,
current,
Mary
it
Lou,
says
Mary Lou.
serves.
Could we move
Mary
on
Lou,
to business, please?
we're gonna be all done. I'm sorry. This has
Well-
been as much as it can be. You do come frequently, and I appreciate that. And if this conversation can continue, I do have some updates
Well, if the
moving forward as
conversation
much as we
can
can.
continue, yes.
It's not, no, not to this evening. I just.
Well,
need
you
to
got one
continue.
final on the billing.
I do have,
One final question on the billing, the
discussion.
dates.
Yeah.
I think I heard two different answers, okay? Somebody asked, will the bills have on it going forward the date, the actual date? I think one person said at the beginning, I think it was Michael, said no. And then I think, I think you said that, okay? And then I think I heard the treasurer say it will be on the bill. Andrew, can you tell us what it's gonna be?
Andrew, can I say something? I'm saying I can add that into QuickBooks. I can do that.
Yeah, I'm not asking about
They need to tell me
QuickBooks.
to do it.
I'm
They
asking-
are-
Done, we're all done. We're
They're
all
the
done. You're not gonna
governing
interrupt
body.
her answers. Stop,
If
we're all
they
done.
want me to do that, they will vote
All right,
on that,
we're-
I'm happy to.
We're gonna transition, I do wanna make a point in the monthly meeting to make a point that we have put a lot of effort with Aquaman in lowering Aquaman's budget. We've gotten Aquaman to agree that they can come down to a 2-visit-a-month schedule. They've gotta train me on using their chlorine injector system, John. It's just something I do. Just something I do, yeah.
Excuse me, can we please stop side talking? This
Please.
is being recorded.
Please.
And I'm not gonna be able to hear the recording.
I can't give you a
So
date.
please, no side talking,
I can't give you a date on when that's gonna get done, we're expediting it. But again, that's cutting Aquaman's monthly fee in half. That's putting effort to lower the cost.
We
It's our
appreciate
job.
that.
We can't move backwards, we can move
Well,
forward.
that's
I'm
the deal.
showing you that we are moving forward.
Congratulations
by
on that.
lowering the cost.
Excellent.
Do you know about how much
I
that?
appreciate your question.
That would
50%.
be, about how much less that would be?
Well, we did list the cost in the beginning. It was $2,650 a month was Aquaman's cost. About half of that would be $1,325.
Okay, 'cause
I did
didn't
use
know
the
if that
phrase
was,
about, so
general.
don't shoot me
But
if
there's
it's
a small
48%.
investment, there's a small
I have to say it,
investment
John,
upfront.
because,
We said okay.
did you? But now you did, I appreciate that, thank you. So that's a significant update, I don't mean to make it sound curt, it is a significant
It's
update.
significant update, yep.
It's going to be helpful for this system to be more equitable, to be able to be sustainable, all right? That's my big update for the water system. We
about
did a
grant
Lumber
money?
Lake update, do you want to do so?
Oh, wait.
What I'd like to do is, I'd like to speak to another thing that we have ongoing, and that is the peninsula well is the most expensive to operate because of the filtration going on, and it tends to require more repair than most. It also requires inspections. That's what we're trying to reduce Aquaman's visits right there. What we'd like to do is try to find a way to get Peninsula offline. Now, you might recall that what we were seeking in last year's budget activity was a loan and grant combination, so we could put another well in the Franklin Pierce district, which would replace the need for the Peninsula well and allow us to take it offline. That was still gonna be a very expensive proposition, but over, a few years, not 50, it would have paid back. So we were looking hard at that. What it's come to our understanding, though, is because people have come off the system, we may be approaching a point, and this may be, but this is what we're working on. We may be approaching a point where the system could actually sustain itself without the Peninsula well in operation, in which case we would like mothball it for future need or catastrophe, whatever. But it's a complex decision process because our consultant needed to get the number of bedrooms currently on the system, because wells are approved for the number of bedrooms in the community that they're going to serve. So our consultant is working on the math now. She has to go back and determine the well capacity that our wells were approved for, which may be a greater number than the capacity at which they're running right now. So she's trying to force through the math to figure out, if not yet, how many more bedrooms would have to come off our system, because we know they're coming off. So how many more bedrooms would have to come off the system before we could look seriously at that as a viable solution to save cost? So that's another creative thing we're trying to
To make a suggestion on that what you're doing, we've read the meters now. We have actual Peninsula and actual Franklin Pierce water use, because you said what the gallons were. Why not take that data, okay, and then see what that reveals?
Because Abby, our consultant, is doing this for us so that it's properly done. So she's basing her calculations on the information she's asked for, and she had Jamie edit it recently to make sure it was current. So, I mean, it's a process in flight. Thank you for your suggestion. We're gonna let Abby do it right.
Thank you, Michael.
How many
Lisa.
homes currently
Lisa,
are now
please.
on the community water system?
Ask Andrew.
Yeah, just ask Andrew, just blurt it out.
How
That's
many-
how we do things. No, Lisa, please talk, thank you.
Sure, on the topic that you guys were just talking about for possibly shutting off Peninsula, and Abby looking into stuff, do you perceive that there could be an issue because well 8 is only temporarily permitted? It's
So
not a fully permitted well?
That has to be considered. Another consideration is our only generator is on Peninsula. So there would be
Right.
some cost to make the adjustments, but again, I'm happy Abby's knowledgeable in walking through.
Yeah, I just didn't know if putting the other well in would be helpful to that, only because well 8 isn't fully permitted. I don't know that DES would even allow us to shut Peninsula off.
Thank you for that
That's a good
suggestion.
point, but yeah, that's a
Happy
good
to-
point.
I'll relay that to Abby
All
tomorrow.
right, thank you. Mary Lou, what's your question? I'm sorry.
It was just how many homes now are on the community water
Jane, do you
system?
have the
and
current
do you
number?
have the current-
So it's 53 minus, no, it's 53 now. But
50.
it's 53 right now, but
We can't speculate
they're
the
coming
future.
off, you know, if you ask me that next week, it's probably gonna be 50, you know, because I mean, you see the signs, and we're getting notifications almost, you know,
I
a couple a
do,
week.
I appreciate the crowd. Again, the transition from a public water system to a private well is not free. It does cost an initial input. Also, the water that we're taking out at Peninsula is being treated because the groundwater at Peninsula is contaminated. It's being treated by a massive treatment system. That treatment system is efficient, the more gallons that go through it. If you install a private well at your house, you are now treating for your gallons individually in your own little treatment system. DES has tried to make the point, it is substantially more expensive to be on a private well system if you're treating water. The board doesn't want to make economic decisions, we can't make requirements, and we don't want to make suggestions for you. But there are costs associated with tripping or switching from the water system to the non-water system. The idea that I appreciate your question with the homeowner that jumped off the system earlier, or somebody that transitioned to a well 2 weeks later. They also spent a significant chunk of change to get that water that they're using right now, and they spent that change this minute. Like, the change we're spending does add up, and I understand that, but again, if we can get this thing equitable, get a tight ship going here, we're bringing costs down. If we can continue to do that, we keep this system sustainable, get new people added on, potentially have new properties here. They're doing nothing but building. Every open lot in this state is gonna be built any minute now. So there is a future here. It's not grim and dead. There is possibilities. I understand that the billing cycle from last year to now is significantly different, but I want you all to understand that we're doing a ridiculous amount of work to keep that as low as possible. It's a significant change, and we're actively working to lower the cost as much as possible.
Well, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
add to
Please,
that?
yeah,
No-
please.
Nobody's gonna go on the system. Like, there's plenty of history to tell you to not go on the system here.
We have two, the homeowner that came that's putting in a trailer, or that's putting a mobile home.
Not
they have-
happening.
Well, it's not happening, but they're not putting in a well, they're doing, or they're doing
I
a
don't
well?
even know if
They didn't buy the house?
I had my house on the market last year, and I have one of the, I would say, better lots to be able to do this stuff. People didn't even entertain it because I'm on the community well. I had 3 people come look at it over a whole summer. I mean, it's because it's on the well. There's plenty of information out there. The community well is, people are gonna come off of it, and it's gonna become more expensive. And then the real question is, well, what is gonna happen when everybody comes, I'm looking to get off of it, I don't wanna stay on this. I mean, I've had situations where we've voted for people, yeah, you can go get wells now, but everybody's gonna pay for it still. We had a vote here on that, and now people aren't paying for it, so that vote was really null and void, and I was in favor of people getting wells, because that was during the time we were shutting off the wells. You know, the future keeps changing, and it's getting more and more and more expensive every time. I have not seen a bill go down unless we're not reading a meter. That's just the facts of it. I mean, I can't sell my house. Properties are gonna go to zero value around here. This is kind of a bigger issue than Pillsbury Lake Village District.
You're right. May I add, Zach, too, one other thing that we're trying very hard to do is we're working with an individual at DES named Cheryl to identify specific grants, and beyond that, specific state funding to support the system, because there's an obligation at the state level to ensure drinking water availability to all its citizens. We're trying to act on that. If we don't get an answer, and I'm giving her about another week, if we don't get the answers we want, it's, hello Maggie Hassan, we need help, So we're,
Well, that was gonna be my next point, and I'm sorry, I know you guys do a lot of work, but Pillsbury Lake Village District is dissolving. Like, the big thing was the water, right? The water is the big reason why we have you guys as part of it. It's dissolving. Is there a reason why we are not having the town take a hold of this? Having the town reach out to the state?
And I'm not saying it's not a possibility. The last time we approached the town's response was that instead of a board, they would just hire a consultant and the bills would go up because they'd be leaning on a consultant to do what a board would do rather than, I mean, we get paid $9,000 a year for the 4 of us. A consultant get paid $9,000 a day. That's not accurate, but I'm just, they'd be more expensive, it could cost more, was the initial feedback. But again, would a consultant be doing as much work if the system gets down to smaller amounts? And then the idea, and it's not a impossibility, there are systems in the state of New Hampshire that are dual house systems, tri-house systems for well installations that have some type of treatment system or some type of distribution, because there are areas in our community that can't physically have both. So there are alternatives to that. I don't know the transition to getting to that, because again, there's a big chunk of installation fees, and who would pay for that? Is the individual homeowner? Is it part of getting rid of the system, and how that would shake out? But those are the questions we gotta get answered too. But you're right, the bigger the government, potentially the bigger the check they could write to us.
But more taxpayers.
Well, yeah, that's why they could write a
More
bigger check,
taxpayers.
bigger check. But that's an argument, so that's a good point, is that if we dissolve and we become part of a significantly bigger district, it's just the district we become part of is an agricultural district, so things like some of our ordinances that we can't really enforce anyway, but some of the ordinances in PLVD would go away because potentially Webster wouldn't follow it. We'd lose our clubhouse, we'd fall into like just.
It was
other
mentioned
stuff.
earlier, for instance, that people have certain things on their deeds. But those are absolutely inactionable. anything about the water system. There's, on many people's deeds, they've told me that they have a speed limit on the lake. We don't govern the lake. It's a state water body. If somebody wants to put a runabout out there, watch the rocks, but they sure can. I mean, there are a lot of things that were part of the original housing development, that when that particular organization went defunct years and years ago, all of these things went away with it. They are unenforceable.
I get it, but people are still buying it with this mindset. They're making purchases on homes, and, you know, I did because I understood that, yeah, we have our own little tax code in Pillsbury Lake, but now it's not for everybody, and it's for separate individuals, and it's changed. It's not what was, it was actually like, oh, if you don't pay the clubhouse fee, you're getting a lien against your house. No, I don't think anybody pays that anymore. But that was in when we bought the house.
The realtors will tell you due diligence, and it falls on you.
Andrew talking about grants.
Caveat emptor, I mean.
But we're signing documents that.
I know, and deeds that say things don't hang out your laundry, I know, but.
I mean, that's really, it's hard to say that there's a future when it's changing all the time.
Yeah. I'd like to start winding this down. Now, if there are any individuals who have not yet had the opportunity to speak that would like to, please let us know, because we want you included. If there are any people here who have new points that haven't been made, things for discussion, we can call on them one last time. There was one thing I wanted to point out, and I meant to share it earlier. We have to be very careful on the commission. So when you send requests for information to the board, there are times you're going to get responses like, we're going to talk to everybody at the monthly meeting, or something that sounds very non-specific and vague. That's intentional. And the reason is, we as commissioners can't have direct conversations about the business of the community with individuals or separate committees, or we can't have one-off interactions that exclude other people from hearing what's being conducted. So if you wind up in a situation where it was like, geez, they didn't really give me much there, please understand that it's probably intentional. So just so you know, okay? Any other new?
Yeah, about the Abby capacity thing, do you have an idea when that might be done? Do you have a timeline when she's going to?
I emailed her again today,
Yeah.
reminding her. Jamie got some updated information to her last week. She had been on vacation, I think, last week, so she's probably just coming back to it today, Mary Lou.
So you think by next meeting we'll have?
I would hope, that's a month.
We'll
We
have
should
that
know.
for sure.
Yeah.
And about the grants, I know the next day after that July meeting, Andrew, you were meeting, I think, about grants. And
We're actively working on the grants. So right now, the answer's been, there's no fully grant money, it's all loan money. We can't take out any more loans, that's my answer to them. I need grants. And so Joanna at the office and Cheryl's the second one I have to talk to that hasn't gotten back to me since the end of last week. I talked to Joanna on Tuesday last week, Joanna McKenna. She's one of the compliance leaders at DES for Groundwater Bureau. She said there's no grant, 100% grant money for your scenario, because I phrased it like an emergency relief grant, because our bill system's significantly different than it was before. She said there's nothing that falls into that category, and didn't leave me to anything. Recommended I reach out to Cheryl, who's actually lower on the food chain than she is, to ask, and that was on Tuesday. I spoke to Joanna, and I haven't gotten back to Cheryl yet. This week yet, so it's
But I
Monday
thought
now.
you were supposed to speak with Cheryl the next day after the July
That's
meeting.
exactly me summarizing that conversation. A month ago, I was supposed to speak with Cheryl, and I ended up speaking with Joanna last week.
Okay.
It's been
I
a
got
month,
it.
more than that. Actually, it's been probably a month and 2 weeks that I've wanted to sit down with Cheryl. But again, Joanna, who's significantly higher on the food chain of like DES, has told me there's no grant money. She was offended by the question, and I was offended, she was offended, if that makes sense, because I thought that's the whole damn point, was to have the money on some organization that could help in a scenario like this, but that's just my ignorance, so.
So what you're saying is that, depending what your answer is, and that, then you're gonna go to the state?
Well,
Is that
absolutely,
the
yeah, no,
next-
absolutely, and I
next
see what you're
level?
saying as far as timeline and when do you say,
Yeah,
oh
it's like
damn,
we're
let's
just
pull the
like bleeding
parachute.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I see what you're saying on that, I mean, if that's a question that we could at least break the ice, I know we break on the ice with the town. That's a difficult avenue if we dissolve into the town, but I mean, we could absolutely, this is what I'll say. I will make a point to reach out to Town of Webster and to ask whether or not we should push it to a higher organization currently, with our feedback from DES, does that make sense? With our current feedback from DES being not a lot, hey, we're, exactly as you're saying, we're still in no man's land, is this something that we should do? But I do wanna tell you that, like, I don't mean to say that it's a good idea to dissolve the district by any means, but I wanna ask what Webster could do for us, and then ask Webster what the region could do, what the higher ups could do, a senator or somebody else, but.
So if that's a motion, I would not support it at the moment, Andrew, and the reason is simply, if we were to go to the town of Webster right now, we don't know what the ask would be. So what we need to do is we need to play out their cards with DES. We need to make sure that the people who have promised support give us support. If they don't, we have to press harder. But that's the remedy. DES is the state agency that owns this situation. So until we resolve that, and frankly, no, I'm not.
Andrew, one final
So we'll
thing.
probably, so thank you, that answers your question, we're
Well, no,
prioritizing
ju-
DES.
but DES, yeah, that does answer, DES, and then, I don't even know why we would have to go to the town next, why couldn't we just go right to the state?
DES is the
DES
state.
Is the
Well, they're
state, yeah,
state
but.
water people,
Oh,
they're
I
not
see
the,
what you're
like, like a senator would be the state, like
Yeah.
Gene Shneen.
Yeah.
Say, take a picture with us
Go
while
to
you're
the
saving our
legislature.
system, please,
Yeah.
is what I was asking I don't know if you're allowed to talk with sealed minutes, but this isn't private, but I was asking if we're allowed to talk to like candidates. It's a really hot election year. Do you guys want a few hundred New Hampshire votes in a swing state? I don't care which side or what color the blue or red, whatever it is. I would love to have a photo opportunity where somebody's just handing a big cardboard check and saving the system. It's just, we're not a, what was it called, a nonprofit. We can't accept, that's my kind of blown out as we're the district. We can't just accept campaign finances. I thought it'd be a really good photo opportunity, but I was shut down. So we are actively looking at things. To answer your question, yes, right now we're prioritizing DES. It's on me to expand my time to get more time with Cheryl and to try and bring up what physical applications we can make the loans or
Yeah,
grants.
I appreciate it, it's disappointing that we don't have any information now, because it's been a
Yeah,
month.
it is.
You're right.
But,
I just have one quick question.
Yeah.
She said that there was approximately 53 places that are on the system currently. When this began, before there could be private wells, how many were on?
About 100.
There was always, well, I will tell you, when I came on as treasurer in 2014, there were 114 water customers and 110 or 112 well owners, and it has slowly shifted.
Andrew, one thing
She
on the
has a
building.
question.
Ma'am?
Okay, I don't know if it's a question, but it's more of an observation on what
Please,
you guys
yeah.
were saying about the original getting together of this community and stuff, and then when the people left, nothing like in my deed is valid anymore, okay? So, that being said, my other my other comment is, are we still a Pillsbury Lake Water District?
We are a Pillsbury Lake Village District.
Village, it's not water, it's village, okay.
So you can have a village district that's just for water, doesn't have anything else. We have a dam, we
Right.
have
Yeah.
a lake, we have a clubhouse, we have a hunting preserve. We have a lot of sources and uses of the district.
Okay, so when we vote on something that is strictly water-related, can everybody in the village district vote on that?
Correct.
Yes.
So, that being the case, where it's shifted, and again, I'm sorry if I'm doing this in the wrong place, but where all of the we have so many more well owners than we have water, and by the way, I'm not a well owner, so this is why I'm making a comment, we're always gonna get outvoted. We're always gonna be outvoted.
You are correct. and that's the way it used to be
That's how
with
it's
the well
always
owners,
happened.
you know what I mean? The water customers always outvoted the well owners.
But
It
if I
just-
may, another important piece of the conversation is that this committee was recently formed. The best use of a committee like that is to communicate with your neighbors and talk about the plight, talk about the situation, have proposals that are workable, that you can get other people on board. And you know what? I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but you know, this really has been a painful thing for us to go through too. We're bringing it to our neighbors. It sucks, okay? But, on the other hand, we're trying to act in the best interest of the entire body. And if your committee pushes through great ideas for improvements and things that will help reduce the cost, we're supportive. That's why we're here.
No, I
Yeah.
don't, no, that's
Yeah, I'm not being defensive. I'm
No, but
encouraging you.
that wasn't what I was trying to say. I guess what I'm
Okay.
trying to say is, you're right. I mean, our meetings have always been contentious. I don't care if you go back, I've been here 26 years, so I know, you know, these meetings.
I thought it was just me.
They always get contentious. But now you're at a point where, I mean, you're talking serious money for the people who are left on the water. And I will tell you that there are probably quite a few that can't afford a well.
Right.
And this just, it leaves them in a very bad position. And I'm not saying this, I'm just giving you a scenario. If I can't pay my water bill, and now I have to sell my home, and we'll allude back to this gentleman over here. You know, now where the water system is versus where it was 6 months ago. 6 months ago, let's say I could get 200,000 from my house. Now that this whole thing has blown up as far as this has, I probably could get half of that. And I'm
If
all
that.
saying, it's a money problem, not just for the board, but it's a money problem for us people in the community as to what we can afford, what we can't afford. And I think it's very sad, and again, no accusation, I think it's very sad that this could push people to have to sell. And I'll leave it.
I would encourage, yeah, I agree with you.
I'll leave it at that.
I would dislike someone leaving over someone's setting up a payment plan and working with us. I'd prefer, we'll work with, we've set up not just one or two, we've set up several already in just the last little bit. And they're not, some are easy, some are, we have to work with you, it's gonna take a lot more legwork and we're gonna have to get to the bottom line at some point. But the bill's due, the bill will be due, but we can work with you. We absolutely can
Oh,
work
no,
with you.
I'm not- and
No,
I'm
no,
not-
and I'm saying you as the person, any characteristics.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you that it's not the favorable scenario to actually sell their house as opposed to paying their water bill. We wanna work through that, and if there's something we can work through, absolutely,
No,
yeah.
and again, I wasn't.
It's a good example, though, to tell
but it's
everybody,
just-
please reach out, work with us, and we can work
Yeah,
through it.
it's just.
I would like to move to adjourn.
Oh, wait a minute, I had a follow-up question of something she's saying about, you were gonna look into, for a long time, you were gonna do a tutorial on emails so we could be notified, and because Facebook isn't working.
I don't know
I
if we've
mean-
done that.
You mean it's not working?
No, we hadn't.
It's just, not everybody's on Facebook, it's so hard to navigate, it's.
We haven't,
Okay.
but yes, that is something we're still working on. Fortunately, we haven't had to kick out an emergency request. The system did go up.
I didn't hear what you said.
We are working on it to get an automatic email system set up. We haven't made much progress since the last time we talked about it, but I do know that we got a computer guru on working on it. But fortunately, we haven't had to kick out an emergency distribution
Would it
since the
help
last
to
meeting. but-
ask the people here if they want to be on an email, if they
No.
leave their email address?
No, yeah, we should make sure that.
We have most of the
use same
emails
ones,
in
yeah.
QuickBooks also
Oh,
already.
okay.
We don't want the maintenance headache, but what we can do is set up the site so that people can come in and register themselves.
And
to
then
get a
they get,
push.
that's what it is. Like you would register to receive an email. We wouldn't have to go find your email. You would just plug your
Right.
email in and get an email. That hasn't moved, but yes, because that will, That's the best avenue to communicate information
Yes, it
outside
is.
of this box.
Yeah.
This box is the best avenue to communicate information, is the room we're in, the video we're on, and the conversation we're having now.
Come to the meetings.
Second would be written, so,
Right.
thank you.
And then the list that I asked for just of community water owners
The
to
answer is
help.
no.
And what's the reason?
It's private information. So we did have a meeting, we discussed whether or not we could give out a whole list of active current water users. Decided that I wouldn't want my own home on a list to somebody I didn't ask to send it to myself. The board made a vote, we agreed, and then no. But you are active, I mean, this is a great exposure for your committee. After the meeting, discuss with the folks that are here, before the meeting, discuss with the folks that are here. These are good exposures, we're not hindering, but that was the answer is no. All right, with that, it's 18:40. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned 18:40. Thank you, folks, thank you, folks.
Everyone on the sign-in that came in, everybody on the sign-in, if not,
Oh, thank you, guys. Sorry, the sign-in sheet, if you haven't done it yet. The sign-in sheet, please.
did not sign in, please sign in.
No, listen, make sure that, I'm sorry, are you on Facebook? Yeah, are you on the Pillsbury site? Yeah, you got it, make sure you get, Pillsbury site. Yeah.